We often wonder who are the greatest players or teams of all time in the NBA, but what about the worst? In this video, we will be going over the top 10 NBA teams with the worst seasonal records of all time. Hello there and welcome back to another video. If you guys are new here and you love everything NBA related, subscribe with those notifications on so you don't miss a single upload. That would be absolutely awesome of you and much appreciated. Without further ado, let's get into this. 1988 to 89 Miami Heat has one of the worst records of all time. Coming in at number 10, they had a record of 15 to 67. The expansion of the Heat opened with 17 straight defeats, an NBA record at the time. And perhaps these Heat were touched by the ongoing curse of Cleveland sports, as their leading scorer was none other than guard Kevin Edwards, a Cleveland product. Edwards finished the season at 13.8 points per game, one of the lowest averages for a team's top scorer in league history. On the bright side, the Heat drafted Ronnie Sakley, Glenn Rice, and Sherman Douglas, and would eventually make the playoffs 4 years into their existence. Next up is the 1995-96 Vancouver Grizzlies with a terrible record of 15 to 67. Unlike other expansion teams, these Grizzlies started with high hopes by winning the first two games in franchise history. That included the season opener at Portland, making the Trailblazers the answer to the trivia question. Which team allowed both the Cavs and Grizzlies to get the first victory in franchise history on its own home court? As for these particular Grizzlies, the fun didn't last. After opening the season 2-0, they lost 19 straight. Later, they set the NBA record with 23 straight defeats. It got so bad that the 1999 lottery pick Steve Francis refused to play for them, and the franchise eventually relocated to Memphis. When you consider how competitive the Hawks are today, it's hard to remember that the current standout Josh Smith played for this 2005 team. The 2005 Atlanta Hawks had a terrible record of 13 to 69. On this team was 42-year-old Kevin Willis, an underrated forward and good person who certainly didn't deserve to end his career this way. Walker eventually was traded back to the Celtics for Gary Payton, who immediately was released and returned to Boston. In short, these Hawks were a bad mix of aging veterans, undisciplined youth, and perplexing trades. As one team employee quipped at the time, "There is no winning here, only degrees of losing." NBA legend Elgin Baylor was named general manager for one of the worst seasonal records in NBA history, coming from the 1986-87 Los Angeles Clippers with a record of 12 to 70. But the team he inherited shouldn't have been nearly so bad, with players such as Mike Woodson, Michael Cage, Benoit Benjamin, and Larry Drew on the roster. And for a while there was hope, as the Clips won 3 of their first 6 games. But things fell apart fairly quickly as they followed their .500 start by winning just 4 of their next 41. After rebuilding through the draft and remaking the team and hiring Larry Brown as a coach, the Clippers finally made the playoffs in 1992, but not before 10 straight years of at least 50 losses. This group was the worst of them all. The 2009 to 2010 New Jersey Nets, with a seasonal record of 12 to 70, all and anyone will remember about this team are Devin Harris and Brook Lopez, and how they were considered 2 great pieces for the future. Well, that and an unlikely regular season win at an eventual Eastern Conference champion Boston. But these Nets also made the record books by becoming the only NBA team to start the season 0 to 18. They also posted records of 3 to 40 and 4 to 48 along the way. Although the 1983-84 Rockets with a 14 to 68 record were accused of tanking games and later credited with forcing the NBA to create the draft lottery system, this group was even worse, as its 2 best players were a washed-up Calvin Murphy and an even more washed-up Elvin Hayes. Of course, it didn't help that the Rockets lost Moses Malone to Philadelphia, getting Caldwell Jones in the free agency compensation package before the season. Kobe Bryant's dad, Joe Jellybean Bryant, also played for this team, proving that being a champion has nothing to do with your family tree. The 1992-93 Dallas Mavericks, with an awful record of 11-71, real problems started a season earlier, when star forward Roy Tarpley was banned from the league for repeated substance abuse violations. They previously acquired all-star Fat Lever from Denver for a couple of first-round draft picks, but Lever missed the entire season because of a knee injury. On top of all that, leading scorer Rolando Blackman was traded to New York, and first-round pick Jim Jackson played in just 28 games. All that was left were no names such as Randy White, Doug Smith, Dexter Cambridge, and Walter Bond, and just 4 wins in the first 61 games. Do you remember Antonio McDyess, the old guy who tipped in a last-second shot to help the Spurs beat the Lakers in the game? Well, he was once a young Nuggets forward with loads of athleticism and was once considered a surefire longtime star. Unfortunately, Denver traded him to Phoenix before the season, and neither he nor the Nuggets were ever the same. In 1997-98, the Denver Nuggets had an 11-71 record. The Nuggets tied the Grizzlies' consecutive loss streak at 23 and fired coach Bill Hanslick after the season, opening the door for a young replacement by the name of Mike D'Antoni. The 1972-73 Philadelphia 76ers had a terrible record of 9-73. First sign of trouble, the 76ers fired legendary coach Jack Ramsey and replaced him with some guy named Roy Rubin. Second sign, star forward Billy Cunningham bailed for upstart American Basketball Association. It was nothing but bad news from there, as the Sixers started 4-47 and Rubin was fired too, replaced by Kevin Lowry, a 32-year-old guard who acted as a player coach. Meanwhile, the MVP on that team was current NBA analyst Fred Carter, who repeatedly had said he hopes no team ever ties or beats the record. There is a certain degree of pride, Carter says, of being the best guy on the worst team. And for the number 1 spot on this list, in which I'm sure none of these teams actually want to be the number 1 worst team in history, is the 2011-2012 Charlotte Bobcats with a 7-59 record. The Bobcats didn't have much talent to begin with, not after owner Michael Jordan signed off on trades of Tyson Chandler and Gerald Wallace in recent years. But injuries to Corey Maggott and DJ Augustin left Charlotte's cupboard nearly bare. Rookies Kemba Walker and Bismack Biyombo were forced into major roles, and marginal NBA players were left to battle the rest of the league. It was a mismatch. The Bobcats were outscored by nearly 14 points per game, a league record, and dropped their last 23 games. In that respect, the mercifully short season was the only good news for these Cats. That wraps up the video, guys. If you made it this far, be sure to slap a like on it. It really helps out a lot. Remember, if you are new here and you are not subscribed yet, be sure to do so with those notifications on. It would be highly appreciated and very much awesome of you. Till next time, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one.